You're listening to the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast. If it's post-apocalyptic, we're talking about it.
Hello and welcome back to the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast. I'm your host, Sean, Senior Editor here at Post-Apocalyptic Media, and this is episode number 86. It is already September. I can't believe it. My birthday is right around the corner. I just can't wait to see what all of you have gotten for me. It's going to be very exciting. So let's get into the news here for post-apocalyptic and survival stuff, which I love talking about. So speaking of survival, this very first thing I want to talk about is a bundle of books at Humble Bundle. Now, Humble Bundle, you might think, if you're a gamer, you might think of them as having game bundles, where they'll offer a couple dozen books and you get them for a really great price. Well, they also do that with books, in case you didn't know. And they have right now 31 Bushcraft survival books for $15. Now, I say $15, but if you know how it works, it's basically a charity thing. They get a publisher to give them these books at a special rate, and then they're able to offer them for just an insanely low price, right? Now, first of all, let me mention, these are not paper books. These are not books, physical books that you have in your hand. These are all ebooks. These are digital books, that you put on your Kindle or whatever. You can have them on different kinds of devices. But the point is, you have 31 books for $15. That's the minimum that they want you to pay to get those 31 books. Of course, you can pay a little bit less. Like you can pay $1, I think, and you can get 6 books. And then if you pay, you can pay $1 for 5 books, or you could pay $10 for 16 books. And they of course, they select those books, but 31 books, if you want the complete set, $15, you can't beat that. I went ahead and I did 25 because I think, not to toot my own horn or anything, but anything over the minimum goes to charity. And so that's what they're doing. They're raising awareness for charity. And this particular charity is for childhood literacy. It's for a company called World Reader, who is a nonprofit, a global nonprofit. They said that they're bringing digital books to children and their families, empowering them to read, think, and grow in order to improve their lives and their world. So it's that's what the charity is all about. And so anything you give beyond the suggested low price of $15 to get the very minimum goes toward that charity. I don't think all of it does, because I think when I gave $10 extra, I think it said that, congratulations, $1.85 has gone to World Reader or something like that. It's like, wait a minute, where'd the rest of it go? But I think that as a deal in itself, for these books, it's just amazing. You can't beat this. Of course, we're not affiliated with this at all. This is not something we're making, any kind of money off of or anything like that. I just saw this deal and I thought, this is amazing. I pay attention to Humble Bundle for games mostly, although they did have a really good book set of some tabletop Pathfinder books last month, I believe. But speaking of which, this lasts until till the end of September. So you have some time to, if you are thinking about if you want to do this. It's September 25th is when it ends. Which is about, 17 days from now, something like that. Let me go through some of these books that they offer, because I think that these are, just the titles alone are, it's intriguing enough just with these titles alone to make you think, well, this is something I want to get. Everything Green Living book, Project Garden, Bushcraft 101, Everything Fishing book, Canning and Preserving, Modern Day Pioneer, Craft of the Knot, K-N-O-T, so it teaches you about tying knots, certain knots. Everything Guide to Foraging, Everything Wild Game Cookbook, Everything Small Space Gardening book, Backyard Farming, Backpacking 101, Everything Guide to Living Off the Grid. A lot of these are everything guides by the same publisher. So Everything Guide to Living Off the Grid, RX from the Garden, which is a great book on foraging for medicinal herbs, things like that. Guide to Improvised Weaponry. Wow. I like that one. That's cool. I don't know. Like the 11-year-old Sean is like really excited by that book. How to Grow Marijuana. I'll leave that one alone. Bushcraft Field Guide to Trapping, Gathering, and Cooking in the Wild. Survival Hacks. Green Smoothie Garden. So that's, growing things that are good in a green smoothie like kale and all that stuff with no taste. And Complete First Aid Pocket Guide, another first aid book. Everything Grow Your Own Vegetables book. Gardening Hacks, which I feel like I already read that one. Possibly. Anyway, Advanced Bushcraft, and then 100 Things to See in the Night Sky, which is all about astronomy, stars, how to, navigate using the stars, all that kind of good stuff. So this is an amazing list to me. So many of I had a few of these. I had Everything Grow Your Own Vegetables book and a couple of the other everything guides I got from a used bookstore a while back. But so let me explain a little something about the digital side of this, right? I know that a lot of people, I saw in the comments when there's a Facebook post about this, things like that. And in the comments, people are like, well, I'm not going to, I want the physical book. And I understand, I'm from that generation that also, I'm kind of right in between. I accept the digital ebooks, and I also just really, really yearn for the paper in my hand, right? That's what I want. So what I did with this is I took all of these books, I downloaded them, and I put them on a Kindle on an old an iPhone. It's not that old. It's not quite an iPod. It's an iPhone. I think it's like an iPhone 4, I think. So it's super old. And that thing just has a storage of books and maps and encyclopedias and guides and things like that in digital form. So I can throw that in my bug out bag and have all this stuff without needing internet access. I mean, it doesn't even have a cell service on this phone, right? So you don't need internet access. Now, to charge it, of course, that's the only problem. I have a little solar charger, which charges it just fine. So that's not a problem short term. I think long term, the battery, it's irreplaceable in the event of, the apocalypse. You can't really, unless you find another one, right? If you find like some zombie with an iPhone 4 on them, you just take that battery out. I don't even think you can, actually. I don't think you can take iPhones apart easily. Anyway, my point is, if you store this stuff on a small, old, unused iPhone, which we all have laying around, right? We all say we're going to sell them on eBay, but we never do. So open that drawer with all the old iPhones in it and pull out one and throw on a bunch of, guides and books, these kinds of books and maps and things like that. And just store them on there. Turn it off. Don't worry about it. Sure, the battery's going to run out, but if, SHTF, then you can charge it and with the solar charger, right? There you go. Instant library. It's a lot easier than carrying around an entire shelf of books on your back. Trust me. I've tried. All right. So next little piece of news here is, okay, so there was a time traveler. I'm making air quotes. You can't see him, but there's a TikTok time traveler, which is back in January, a guy says that his name was Javier and he lived in Spain. And he said he's from the year 2027, right? You may remember the story. And he said he came back to warn everyone of the end of the world. And what he was doing is he's taking videos of public places in Spain that are completely abandoned. He's like, this is proof. These are videos from 2027. Well, of course, we know that those are videos from the pandemic, 2020, and when everything is shut down, right? It's not a big deal. Well, the funny thing is that guy's actually still making videos to this day and still trying to pass that off. But he has a lot, like 6.9 million followers on TikTok. So doing something right. So we had that guy. Then we had another one in May, I think it was, where the guy said that he knows the exact day of the end of the world. And he came back, and everyone keeps asking the same questions. If you are from the future, first of all, why did you come back and go on TikTok? And second of all, how are you posting on TikTok from the future? And if you came back, is your data plan still accessible? A lot of questions, right? A lot of different things. Well, So this most recent one, there's another one that just came up. That's why I'm talking about this again. This most recent one warns us of dates in October next month, which will, important dates to remember, things that will happen. Of course, this has happened before, where the doom dates basically have come and gone. One was supposed to be in July, one was supposed to be in August, I believe, and Category 6 hurricane was supposed to hit, and all this kind of stuff. So, take it with a grain of salt. I personally am amused by it, and I'm maybe a little too sarcastic about it in my posts. I don't know. But I think, I'm having fun with it because I don't think it's real, but I think a lot of people do. And, I don't know. I guess that's, your thing. But to me, it just seems really obvious. It's an attention grab, and it's on TikTok. So, take it as you may. One thing I found interesting, and I put it at the end of this post, was this most recent one only has 124,000 followers. I say only because, Javier from January has 6.9 million, catch up, right? So this guy has 124,000, and he says that at 1 million followers, there will be a face reveal. I don't know. So I think that the big thing about this, though, is the creativity of some of these people who they're like, this one says that there will be a celebrity in August that dies and then is raised from the dead 3 days later. Well, so people are like, wait a minute, this already happened. Why didn't we hear about it? And he's like, well, he's in the hospital still. He's still recovering. Oh, okay. Well, I get it. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think about this kind of stuff. I know it's a little far-fetched, but it's interesting. It's interesting to see so many people now talking about what they think is the end of the world and how the world will end. I guess if you guess every scenario, someone's going to be right at some point. But the question is when, right? All right, let's go on to this next bit of news. Now, this is, speaking of crazy stuff, speaking of real world apocalypse, there is a phenomenon going on right now. I say phenomenon, it's like a viral thread on Twitter about someone named Loab. I think you pronounce it Loab, L-O-A-B. I'm not going to pronounce it Loab because that's like Lisa Loeb, the singer from the 90s, right? But this is Loab. It's kind of like Moab, I guess. Loab is an AI-generated woman. This guy named Super Composite. Super Composite is this Twitter user who created this Loab character and is just fascinated by it. Now, you might look at it and say, okay, well, it's AI messing up a face, right? It just, AI does that. It doesn't, when you put in faces in Midjourney or, DALL-E 2 or Stable Diffusion or any of these, the face is not always going to be perfect, although they've gotten a lot better at it. I mean, if you can put a couple prompts in there to make a really, really nice looking face in a lot of those programs. So what Super Composite did was put the prompt in as a reverse, a negative of Marlon Brando. He's kind of curious about what would happen if I did, what would the reverse of Marlon Brando be? Like Marlon Brando is supposed to be this iconic, like handsome actor. So what if I did the opposite of that? Well, it came out with this logo. It was really pretty weird. Like you would think like, why would a logo, and this logo says Digita Pintix, P-N-T-I-C-S, and it has like a little image of like a buildings in the background, like a silhouette of buildings, a couple different colors. It looks like it's painted, but it says Digita Pintix. And so he's like, wow, that's the opposite of Marlon Brando? So, as you might imagine, if you've ever messed with like language translation software, if you put something like, let's say you take an English phrase, you put it from English to Spanish in Babbel or one of those programs, and then you reverse it to see how accurate it is, it's never quite the same. When it goes from English to Spanish and then back from Spanish to English, there's a couple words that are off, right? And it's interesting. So this person did the same thing with this image. Well, let's reverse the Digita Pintix logo and see if it comes out with Marlon Brando. Well, it came out with this Loab image. And it's kind of like this, it's like a woman's face, and the proportions are off, and cheeks are really like rough and rosy. And it's just it's a very distinctive looking face. So he's like, okay, well, that's interesting also. Like the opposite of this logo is this woman. Where does that come from? From the AI? Like what knowledge base is it pulling from to give you this? So then he started playing with it a little bit more. He started adding in some more prompts here and there. And here's the part that's scary, right? It's not, some people are taking this the wrong way, and they're thinking that Loab, the image of the woman is scary. It's not so much the image of the woman, the fact that her face is at different proportions and all that. It's not really that. It's the fact that this face keeps popping up in new images. So here's how AI works. When you mess with Midjourney or one of those, and you can put in like a celebrity name, right? And then you can have it in different situations. Like say you want to see Steve Buscemi skiing down a mountain, right? I don't know where that came from, but that's what I want to see right now. So you put that in there, and it's going to show a really close, accurate photo of that. But if you put that exact same thing in again, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be Steve Buscemi looking, but it's going to be not the same angle or things like that. And it might be recognizable, but the more you do that, the more variation you're going to have in that type of image. Well, so this user put this kind of the same prompt in there over and over again, and switched it up, had a bunch of different changes, even did it I think he did it across platform, like from Midjourney to DALL-E or one of, something like that. I know he used his friend's prompts. His friend had some prompts for a hallway image, so he threw those in there, and it still comes out with the same image of this woman. And it's very recognizable. The space between the nose and the top of the mouth is like, really far apart. You have the deep sunken eyes. You have the red rosy cheeks. It's, the dark hair. It's like the same thing over and over again for this character. And I don't know, I wasn't really clear on how he was doing the prompts, if he kept putting in Loab and like that created a new prompt, since it's kind of a nonsensical word. Well, actually, he got the name because one of the images had the name Loab at the top. Like if you've messed with text in these AI generated these art things, the text comes out really weird because it's a mix of a bunch of different things, and it's not really words, So it said Loab, so that's why he named it this character Moab. Well, it got even worse than there. So then he started introducing different variations of the prompts, and it started coming out with just horror scenes, like bloody babies and just blood like really crazy stuff. And he posted a lot of these on his Twitter account, but he had to like hide them, where you have to click on it to see it because it says it's a disturbing photo. So if you want to go on his Twitter and check that out, you can see the variations, and some of them are just absolutely insane. But the scary thing is it keeps that same recognizable face pretty much. It's a little off, in certain things, but it's just the same mouth, the same nose, the same deep sunken eyes that are just looking in different directions, and dark hair. It's the same face. And I don't know if that has more to do with the human tendency to associate faces or what it is, but it's creepy. And that's the creepy part about it, is the fact that AI, why does AI keep giving this same face over and over again to this person? Even if you gave the same prompt, it shouldn't do that. Even if you gave the exact same words, it shouldn't do that. If you ever played around with AI art, you can put in, you put in a prompt and it'll give you 4 variations, at least on Midjourney, and they're all different, right? They're all completely different. They might have something in common, usually like a color scheme or, the style or something like that. but they're different. And for him to repeatedly get the same face, it's really strange. It's really strange. So that's why this has been going viral today. That's why people are posting. That's why if you go on Twitter right now, you'll see Loab as a trending search term. It's fascinating. It's pretty fascinating. And so from a post-apocalyptic standpoint, from like a dystopian standpoint, where's this going to go from here? You know, I don't know. It's interesting. How many times have I said interesting in this this episode so far? I don't know. All right. And the last thing here, one of the last things I want to talk about is the latest episode of Tales of the Walking Dead. You know how I love to talk about these episodes, and these are early episodes. So if you have AMC Plus, you've seen them. If you do not, then you'll see it this coming Sunday. So I will leave out spoilers. I'll leave out big spoilers because it's the fact that, you know, I understand that not everybody has seen these, and you want to listen to this whole podcast without having to stop it and not listen to it, right? You want to hear my voice all the way through to the end, right? My wonderful, wonderful voice. Okay, so these are my impressions. Episode 5, it's called Davon. It's a lot of the people in the episode speak French, so it's like Devon, you know, how they pronounce it. So that's the name of the episode, and I think it brings a very spooky mystery, like horror mystery, back to the show, which I think we missed for a couple episodes there. You know, if you look back at the 4 episodes before that, I mean, they were wacky, they were serious, they were scientific, they were introspective, you know, but this is one that was actually really creepy. I would describe it as a mixture of The Village and Memento and, I mean, in the Walking Dead universe, right? And that's not really giving anything away. I think they have that in the synopsis. But basically what it is this guy loses his memory and he has to piece it together while people are accusing him of murder, right? He has to figure out, why are they calling me a murderer? What did I do? So they're chasing him. They're, chasing him around town, but he keeps having these flashbacks of the people in town and how he knew them before and how he can't imagine why he would be a murderer. I mean, we watch this and we're like, I don't think he's a murderer. He doesn't seem like a murderer. He's not doing anything murderer-like. But it all unravels at the end and we get to see exactly what's going on and it all makes sense. I think that it's a very good episode. I still think episode 3 is the best. That was the one called D, which is about Alpha, before she was Alpha. I still think that was the best. That's the best episode of this series so far. This one, I don't know. It might be number 2. It might be, I'd give it maybe a number 2 in my book. And then past that, I don't know, because they're all kind of really close at that point. But we have 1 episode left. They're going to make 6 episodes of this. So we have 1 left. And that one's coming out on Sunday for AMC Plus, or, the week after for regular AMC. I don't know. I really recommend this show. I think that it's gaining momentum. I'm excited, or I guess I'm interested to see how that last episode is going to play out, though, because it's such a, being a finale. Is it actually going to be a finale, or is it going to fizzle out? I don't know. I feel like the finale would have been episode 3 at this point, but we'll see. So if you've seen this episode, let me know. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. I'd be interested to know. And also, we have our Discord channel where we talk more about this stuff, so that we don't have to worry about spoiling things in the in the post itself. Although this review I gave right here is all spoilers. So if you don't want to read spoilers, don't read this review. Otherwise, if you've already seen the episode and you want to kind of, double check what you thought the episode was like, you can check out this review. It's completely spoilerific. But you can go on our, like I was saying, you can go on our Discord, and you can even set spoiler tags to cover things up if there's a spoiler, and then people will click on it if they want to see a spoiler. So it's a good place to talk about spoilers. It's a good place to discuss further, further stuff about this episode. But I'd like to know what other people think. I haven't read any other reviews really on this season of Tales of the Walking Dead, I do listen to another podcast called Aim for the Head, which is it's all Walking Dead, and they're a couple episodes back. I think they just covered the D episode, and they really loved it too. But I don't know. It's always interesting for me to hear what other people think about that. But yeah, I highly recommend this one. I think it's better than episode 4, not better than episode 3, and better than 2 and 1, I'd say. That's my official review right there. All right, so let's take a look at other stuff on the site. We have a lot more going on at Post Apocalyptic Media. We have a short story contest. So if you are a short story author or a long story author and you want to write short stories, between 2,000, 5,000 words is what we're looking for. Post-apocalyptic stories. You can win money, $300 for top prize, $100 for second place. And that is due. It's going on right now, and it's due on December, I think the 16th, somewhere around there, middle of December. And then, of course, we'll have the winners announced at the end of the year. So, yeah, there's that, which I absolutely love. I love this time of year. I love reading short stories from the readers. Absolutely great. We also have coverage of the latest episode of Alone Frozen, which is episode 4. Tina did a recap and review of that. We also have, we have the YouTube Roundup, which I just did today. That is, where I take my favorite YouTube videos of the week that are in the post-apocalyptic genre, and I talk about them a little bit. There's some gameplay videos in there. There's a full movie, and there's also some other little miscellaneous things in here. There's a cool board game review of the board game called Barbarians, which I picked as my number one Kickstarter for September. Post-apocalyptic Kickstarter. It looked like a really cool game. It unfortunately just ended, I think, yesterday. So the time to back it is over. But this is a really cool video in my roundup that shows 2 players playing it and kind of going through and explaining how it's played. Very cool. I love tabletop games. If you haven't guessed, it's one of my favorite things. All right. And so other than that, that's about it for this. We have upcoming September 14th, which is next Wednesday, Handmaid's Tale Season 5 premieres on Hulu, right? And then toward the end of the month, we have Wasteland Weekend, which I can't wait to talk about. That'll be great. Vesper, that movie comes out the 30th. There's a Dystopian Rising Georgia weekend small group camp meetup on September 16th. So we have some pretty cool things going on this week, or this month, later on this month. We're getting into convention season. We're into convention season. We just passed Dragon Con, which I missed. I miss going to Dragon Con. I want to go back there maybe next year. That'll be my goal. Maybe I'll go back next year. I haven't been there in probably about 5 years. But it used to be my thing. I used to dress up. I used to do the whole thing. I would go in the Apocalypse Rising track, and I would, when Fury Road came out, I was dressed like a rock rider. I did the whole thing. It was a lot of fun. So if you go to Dragon Con, let me know. It's a lot of fun. Alrighty then. This is a short episode, but I think it's packed full of some good stuff, right? So I want to thank everyone for listening. Again, check us out, postapocalypticmedia.com, or you can go to postapocalyptic.com if you don't want to type that much. It goes to the same place. And we have a lot going on there. We have our social media, every social media you can think of, just about, we're on there, and, be sure to follow us there. So until next time, I want to thank you all for listening, and remember to stay alive out there and always be ready for the big one. Bye-bye.